Hello, I am Debra, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I have chosen to go live. Excuse me. Get comfortable. Make sure you're comfortable. Thank you for joining me, and it's important that you feel you're in a space that feels safe and comfortable as I talk much about feeling safe, seen, soothed, and secure, and being perceived as feeling loved. Cues of love and safety are so important for the development of our nervous system. So I go live Tuesdays and Thursdays called Pause and Process because, like our nervous systems, there's dirt in here, glitter. There's now even bacteria since I've opened it. I will dump it out and start again. But, things happen, events happen, and activate our nervous system, which we're going to talk more about. And when that happens, anything that we haven't processed, made sense of, gets muddled, and then it's hard to think clearly. And then we also we have distorted thinking, and there's a whole bunch of things that our brain does for us to survive. And so many of us are in survival states and not actually in thriving. And so I love to promote thriving. And usually in these talks, I talk for the first 15 to 20 minutes, and then I do an activity for 10 to 15 minutes. So if you don't want to listen to the neuroscience and my experience and trauma and my insights, then you can always go to the ending, the last 15 minutes. And there's my cat, which I talk a lot about my cat in my talks. But actually, it's Happy Mental Health Awareness Month. Today is May 1st. May is Mental Health Awareness. And I share a link to one of my writings as a reframe on mental illness. I actually don't even like to reframe it as illness, because when you understand how the nervous system functions and works, and you look at the context and the environments, and I talk about this a lot, that we're raised in and what we have access to, there's threats. And so your nervous system is going to respond accordingly. So we can also use the language of stress responses. So I don't even like to use disorders a lot of times when I'm talking. Fortunately, that's the name, that's the language that most people know. But I want to reframe that most mental disorder, illness, will seem disorder, not the normal, but it's actually adapting and responding to its environment. And so if someone is behaving in ways that seems disordered or like too much, I can guarantee you 100% of the time, when I get to meet them and listen to their story, and definitely from being development starts in the womb of your mother, and we get data on what that mother has gone through and her environment, and even her grandmother, there's transgenerational trauma, that when you put that lens on it, it all makes sense. And so that is what I love to teach. So I share the link to my article that I wrote about my reframe on mental illness to mental health. And it's nice that mental health language is being promoted more. Well, it had been. There's lots of shifts happening, but mental health is vital, and it starts in our body. So I also talk a lot about somatic therapy. The body keeps a score. So it's usually our body symptoms are letting us know that our nervous system is under stress. And so there's a model that I'm trained in, Polyvagal theory. I'm also a safe and sound provider. This is another development from Dr. Stephen Porges, who created music. It's a whole other thing. I can do another talk, but he is discovered that the nervous system, it's a theory, polyvagal theory, and you may have heard fight, flight, or freeze. And he also discovered kind of that freeze. And so our brains are doing so much all the time. And this is and then there's actually a therapist. I'm going to show this. The glare, hopefully you can see this. The automatic the autonomic nervous system, and this is representing the ladder of our nervous system. And this is a ladder here, but I also like the image of Deb Dana, who's a therapist, who kind of took Dr. Stevens Porges' work and made it adaptable to therapists to utilize. Uses also kind of like circles within a circle. And last week, well, on Tuesday, I shared an image of the brain and how it develops. And it does kind of show more of like a circle within a circle and a circle. But we're going to use a ladder here. And I share links so you can hear Deb Dana describe more about these parts. But if you think about our brain, the survival part, in my book, I use a gator. My book is How to Train the Brain. And last week, I also did my hand model to show more about this in detail. But basically, what goes on is when we are feeling, actually, I'll start at the top of it later. So when we are feeling safe and seen and soothed and secure and connected to our social engagement center, and we're feeling good, we're like on the top of the ladder. We're our best self. We're able to access our higher functioning skills, think clearly, and that. And then as soon as we perceive a threat, we activate the sympathetic nervous system, which is a neuroception of danger. And I've done another talk more on neuroception. And that is when we get mobilized, action taking, and we want to fight or flight. And then dorsal comes into play. And this is dorsal is actually a part of the parasympathetic branch of the nerve. The vagus nerve is a nerve that goes all the way from the back of your brainstem, back here, goes down your neck, and it goes all the way down to your gut. Vagus actually stands for wandering, so it's wandering nerve, and it's got these branches. And so basically, we have 3 different pathways that we can go. And so dorsal is actually part of the parasympathetic, which what always helps me think about. So para is like kind of pressing the brakes. It's saying like, oh my gosh, something is going on. But sympathetic is turning on. You're getting signals that you're cueing and fight or flight. And then often what happens is when we're in sympathetic for too long, we'll go down to dorsal. And that is life-threatening, immobilize, shut down, and collapse. And it is like a hierarchy. You do kind of have to, I always kind of relate it to like a manual transmission of a car, although automatic, it automatically goes. And then what I'm trying to help teach is awareness. And so actually when you become aware of your nervous system, then you're able to know what state you're in. Then you can actually like put your hands on the manual and then you can move through the system, because it's so important to know that every human being is going up and down this ladder. This is one of my catchphrases I'll say, if you have a nervous system and you're in relationships, then the things that I'm sharing are going to help you. And it really just blows my mind that, from my point of view, how we're all born with this nervous system that actually makes a lot of sense and functions amazingly well. And so, and the science has shown, and that's what I love about the work of Deb Dana and Dr. Stephen Porges and many other trauma specialists, is that, and anyone as a mental health provider, awareness is the first step to change. You can't work or heal or adjust anything if you're not aware of. And so the exercise I'm going to walk us through is called the profile map. And so it's going to help you tune in and figure out, give you what cues to let you know what state you're in, because also each state requires different things to help you soothe and move up and down the ladder. So again, we're all going to go up and down this ladder every day. It's not possible to live in this world without activating our nervous system. And every body is unique. So you can't, I know a lot of people might trivialize and think, oh, why are you upset about that? That's little. Your nervous system only knows your lived experience. And I can guarantee no one's intentionally wanting to make a big deal out of things. Their nervous system is reacting to something that may have happened generations ago. That may have happened in the womb. That may have happened when they were 3, may have happened when they were 6. And then they had no safe place to process, express, and make sense of it. And so that's how I highly recommend that everyone seeks counseling at least one time in their lifetime. I mean, and when I say one time, I mean, go for an extended period for a bit to explore your upbringing and any behaviors, because they manifest in ways and they affect your relationship, your health, so many things. So I'm a huge advocate, obviously. So, and again, and I talk about diagnoses as well as I'm trained to diagnose people pretty much. And I've worked with Dr. Bruce Perry, and I talked a lot about him on Tuesday as well. Froze. That pretty much a diagnosis is going to come from, like depression is being in dorsal, that feeling numb and hopeless for an extended period of time, 6 weeks, that's a diagnosis of depression. And actually that's just as representing you are feeling, your nervous system is feeling so overwhelmed. My picture freeze as I'm talking about all this. Here, I'm going to give another example. Actually, before I do that, so that's the dorsal. I'll show back. So I was going to give some more languaging of sample words. Let's see. Oh, this one doesn't have it. Here, let me look at this one. Here we go. So let's see. This is work of Debra. So she's amazing. I share her links. But like I was showing in dorsal, some people will feel dark, foggy, fuzzy, silent, out of focus, cold. It's like it's darkness, it's numbness. And again, people can have different words, but this is usually what it looks like. Hopeless, helpless, shut down, disconnected. And I'm going to walk you more through this activity. This is what we're going to end on. But so, I mean, that's exactly what someone feels like when they're depressed. That is your nervous system. It's a sign that you are so compacted and overwhelmed. And, like this is now clearing up because it's settling, but most of the time depression is just constantly overwhelmed and dark. And then when you're in fight flight, that's when sympathetic is getting activated. That's when you're first detecting some threat, which is basically anxiety. You'd get that diagnosis if you're having that for an extended 6 weeks. And obviously there's so many variables, but all diagnoses, and I talked about them Tuesday, and I will talk again about really, my master's is human development and family studies. So depending on your environment, because it's nature, nurture, it's not just one, it's a bidirection of your genetics, and in your environment has a huge play on whether genetics will play. That's a term called epigenetics. But depending on what is going on, what access to resource, how safe, seen, soothed, and secure you feel in your home and in your most closest relationships, that is what's developing your nervous system. And a healthy nervous system will show, I'll use Dr. Dan Siegel's work. His work is where I got the safe, seen, soothed, and secure. Which helps with attachment science and is what helps with the integration of a healthy nervous system. And I'll share his acronym called FACES. And FACES stands for flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable, flow. So a healthy nervous system will have FACES, and a healthy nervous system will be able to you'll be able to you'll be able to notice when you're in these states, and you'll be able to have resources and relationships and people you can go to help you move through the state. So those are the key ingredients of a healthy nervous system. And then with the polyvagal, it's being able to actually, let me show the image that this is again, I'm sorry, I mentioned I'm trained with safe and sound protocol, working on the grill. But what is so important and why it's important to do this profile mapping, and I do with most of my clients, um, is to notice where you are on the autonomic map. So where you are in your nervous system, name the state, turn towards experience. I even have, actually, I might share 5 steps to positive reframe, because turning towards the experience at bare minimum is just like, I'm noticing, feeling anger. And this just happened, and might kind of name it to tame it. You're describing what's going on. And you bring curiosity. Why is that upsetting me so much? Um, I'll often I ask, when's the earliest memory that you recall feeling a similar situation, if you have more time? That's what I would encourage you to make time to do that, because it's usually going back to earlier memories. And then we often need to go back to those earlier memories and be that safe scene, be that adult, be that warm presence for that younger part of us to feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure. I also train, I've been done trainings in internal family systems. So I integrate a lot of therapies. So I'm kind of using a lot, but and again, not just one thing. Whenever anyone works with me, I have to get to know what works best for them. So, um, and then this is where, after you do that curiosity, you listen for a moment to the story of your state. And so, notice and name. So that's really why I love to do this with my clients, to let them figure out what their nervous system, what their cues are, so that they can, oh, that's right, I'm feeling this way, and take time, and then they can do what they need to do, depending on the situation, to help soothe their nervous system, to help them feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure, so that they can move up the ladder into ventral vagal, and then can stay focused and feel connected and safe. We need to feel safe. It's so vital for our well-being. And that's why I'll say it again. We all need to feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure for a healthy nervous system, and to be able to handle and adapt and move through. And I think it's really important that that secure bit, it's consistency. It's not just one time. This is why our caregivers and our early relationships in our formative years make a big difference in what happened. I grew up with a lot of chaos. um, and all this is why I do what I do, because everything I learn helps me make sense of why my brain and my nervous system is a bit set on set on some darkness side and anxiety sides. And I'm able to now, whereas before in young parts of my life, very young parts, I would think, what is wrong with me? I thought something was wrong with me. I just look at the world differently. No one seems to get me. I don't seem to understand. I don't know what's going on. And as I have learned all these things and went to an amazing graduate school program, and it was fun. Like, I didn't think I was smart. I thought I was dumb. I thought I was stupid. And I didn't even think I'd go to college. And then I ended up graduating first in my bachelor's, transferring school in psychology. And I remember I was like blown away when I saw the number. I'm like, what? First? Wait, I'm number one? How did that happen? Because my core beliefs, I didn't think I was intelligent. And it's so funny that even though all that I know, there's still a little bit of that part. And so now when I get activated out and I've done my profiling map, I'm able to say, oh, wait, I'm having these negative thoughts. That means I'm overwhelmed. That means I'm in dorsal. Does not mean there's anything wrong with me per se. Look at my life. Look at what's going on. And I've talked a lot about, recently my mom just passed away, and I'm going through 81 years of history, of my family history, and I'm needing to move. It's a lot. And everybody, it's not, that's why I'm showing up as a human. All of us have a story. All of us have things that are going on in our lives that are overwhelming. And that's, you'll hear me say often, pretty much in every talk, like, trauma is anything that's too much, too fast, too soon for our unique nervous system to handle. That's why we can't compare But based on our lived experience, it's something that's too much, too fast, too soon. That goes on, that's out of our control, unpredictable. And then when we have no safe place to process it and make sense of it and express it, then that's when it gets locked down in our system and causes heaps of problems. So I will now walk us through, have you do. So if you have a sheet of paper and a pen, I encourage you to get that. And what you want to do is you want to block it off in thirds. So you want to kind of have a grid like this. So just a sheet of paper, make it in thirds. And what I'm going to have us do is we're going to start at the bottom of the ladder, because I always like to end on the positive note. Anyone who works with me, I like to start on the positive. I like to end on the positive, and the hard work is in the middle. So I also say that for communication. When you're communicating, I use the hamburger. They'll teach this in schools. Start with something soft, a soft bun, meaty middle or whatever, even if you're whatever the main middle of your sandwich is, and the bottom is a bun. It's a nice way to communicate and process things and titrate hard experiences. Actually, I talked about titration is a somatic therapy term. But so what I want you to do is I want you to think about an experience of feeling overwhelmed. So when things are dark, I'll go back, fuzzy, silent, out of focus. You just for me, it's when I just want to crawl in a hole. Just want to crawl in a hole. Just that's what comes up for me. But what I want you to do is think about a time when this has recently happened, and kind of teleport yourself to this moment. And I want you to answer the statement, I am. There's no right or wrong here. Don't overthink it. Just when you're in this overwhelmed state, dorsal vagal is activated and things are dark, complete the statement, I am. And again, some other examples, I'm unlovable, invisible, lost, alone, unworthy. And then the next question is, I want you to complete this statement while you're in this state. The world is. And again, no right or wrong. Some examples are cold, empty, uninhabitable. I've had on mine pointless. Again, no right or wrong. And then I want you to complete the sentence, people are. No right or wrong. Just notice what comes up when you're in this state. People are. And then I also want you to take a moment while we're in this state. Notice what sensations are in your body. So this is my book, but you can Google sensations, but notice what sensations you might be feeling in your body when you're in dorsal. And I want you to just kind of make a note. So in that bottom third, note some sensations you're feeling. I would put small on mine. I feel heavy, tearful. And I'm also trained in narrative therapy. So in this sample of the profile map, you'll notice on the far, let's see. Oh, I moved. I like how you can come up with your own. I care about the environment. So I didn't want to print it out, trying to use electronic things, but you notice how it says darkness there? Um, I like to come up with your own names, so if darkness relates, like how would you title it? Like if this state, that your dorsal state, and we could call it dorsal for people who like to use the scientific terms, more than happy to say dorsal. But sometimes it's fun to use a name that relates to you, and especially with kids. I'm a huge fan of as well. In my book, I try to encourage Gator. Oh, looks like Gator's coming to visit you. Gator's here. But what's a name that it's nice when you can make it specific? And kids will definitely come up, it could be the grumpy monster, Grumpsters, just come up with a name. And if you're not the creative type, that's fine. I just like to open that door to that possibility. Because that's how my brain works, but everybody's different. If nothing comes, then just go and name it dorsal. Now we're going to go up to sympathetic. We talk about this is where you're mobilized, fight or flight. People can often feel out of control, too much, confusing, overwhelming, angry, confrontational, ready to run. And actually, I'm going to ask you to start with sensations. So just kind of write down sensations while think of a experience when you feel you're in sympathetic. Oh, mine is time pressure. Oh my goodness. When I have to be somewhere, that makes my nervous system go so hyper. I feel so much pressure. Like I just have to get too much done. My tone is usually very elevated. But just think of a moment. So right before, actually, I did well staying calm right now because I'm doing this live for my well-being as well. So I make sure that when if I'm starting to feel stressed about, I'm like, yeah, this is my gift, and if people show up, this is just something that I've been wanting to do. So here we are. But usually time, absolutely. Actually, someone did ring the doorbell right when I got on, and I was like, oh, I had a moment. Wait. And they actually came to help me. It was so sweet. So glad that I was able to. But again, that takes an eighth of a second. I'll talk about, Google. You can look at my past talks on neuroception for this sympathetic to get state. So writing down your sensations, and then I want you to answer the statement, I am. What comes up for you in this state? How do you feel about yourself when you are in this state? Crazy is a common one. So I thought it'd be good to kick off Mental Health Awareness Month with this one, because it feels disorienting. It's oof. So moving on to the next one, how would you complete the statement, the world is? And what just comes up naturally? We can have unfriendly, scary, exploding. And then how would you complete the statement, people are? And often this state can feel very chaotic. So chaos is written on the sidebar here. Think about what you would want to name it. Chaos may fit. I think I would use pressure. Pressure. I love Billy Joel, so the song Pressure comes to my mind. And now we'll go think of a moment that you feel connected. You feel like you want to be socially engaged and hang out with the people, and you feel good. And actually, I'll show my book again, which you can buy on my website. Often signs of safety and connection. When feeling loved is loose, cuddly, awake, tall, relaxed, fuzzy. Interesting, I didn't put love there. I always, when I look at my book, my perfectionist part comes out. I see things I want to fix. My next edition. So think of a time, mine, I've talked about this in one of my resourcing, is when I'm with when my dog and cat are cuddling, or just every morning I wake up. When I do wake up, I got a lot going on. And so I take a moment to get on the floor and pet both my dog and my cat. And they didn't get along initially. I talk about that in other talks. So now when I see them together, I'm just like, oh. And so notice what sensations come up in your body. And I'll share this sample again. So notice what comes up in your body, sensation-wise, when you are in this moment, feeling ventral, vagal, safe and social. And then I want you to complete the statement, I am. Complete the statement, the world is. The sample says welcoming, filled of opportunity. I'll say beautiful. I'm in my sunroom. I often feel also ventrovagal. That's why I chose to have my office in here. It's beautiful. And filled with opportunity. And then complete the statement, people are. I have fun. Friendly. Interesting. Again, just comes to you. And then here the side, this was titled here flow, because that's when I talked about, faces. We have flow. Usually when we're there, things flow. Zen can be another word. What's a word that you want to call this state for yourself? I'm in Zen. I feel connected. I often say connected for myself. Connected. I value feeling connected. So I definitely fill my days with things that help me feel grounded and connected. Grounded is another word you can use. No right or wrong, just language. This is why I wrote my book to be a coloring book, because it works better when it relates to us. And think about all the different people. Like I said, my master's is in human development. Like there's no single same person. Diversity is beautiful. We all have a gift. We're all born with a basket of goodies to share, to make this world a better place. So I do believe that, and why I keep showing up. I did mention earlier that also why it's important to first, we're working on noticing it, like what these states are. And I think I'm going to do another talk because this is obviously a lot. I'm just going to show this image because I have it ready. This is by Jackie Flynn. I've shared it in another image too, but this is one that I use with kids to kind of give a nice visual. I love using visuals, especially with kids, but I'm a visual person. But this kind of shows you more sensations of those states. And there is more to this. There's in between states too. This actually does kind of show the hybrid states there, the mixes, which I'll go into more detail. But it does take different things to move through. So usually in dorsal, and briefly, I'm just going to summarize quickly. In dorsal, you'll usually need something that, you may need a little rest. Like, yes, give yourself permission. I do my own talk called my ABCs. Validate why you're feeling that way, and maybe give yourself some rest, because you probably need rest and space. But often if we need to get moving, you also need to do some kind of movement to get you out. And that's why when I work with parents and children, it's like, they just cross their arms. They're resistant. They're in dorsal. They're shut down now. They can't just snap out of it. I'm sorry. I wish there was a magic wand. But I'll repeat a lot often that it takes on average 20 to 30 minutes for our nervous system to settle naturally. If nothing else activates, shakes up our nervous system, it takes 20 to 30 minutes to get settled. And so nothing works the good news with kids, I have found singing. That's why I used to do the hokey pokey as a kid. I was meant to be a therapist. I had so many interventions that I created for myself to get back. And rituals are really key. It's a whole other talk. But so usually you need to, when you're feeling immobilized, to move through it, we want to do some sort of activity, some sort of movement, which could be dancing, jumping. There's somatic exercises that I teach specifically to touch certain points. There's lots of things, again, that I tailor to each unique nervous system. And then when you're in sympathetic, normally it's often some deep breathing, something more getting into your body that's going to cause pause. Actually, I've done the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've actually done a YouTube video on that one. I'm going to share that. That's a great exercise that I do in that state, which actually that one works on both states. But again, everybody's different. So I'm just giving an example that usually, just letting you know that don't be surprised that what gets you out of dorsal is going to be different than what gets you out of sympathetic, and for your loved ones as well. And sometimes it's one thing that works for all of it. Go with it. But usually I find it's different. It's state dependent on what you need. So let's just take a few deep breaths. In through the nose, long exhale through the mouth. And just scan from head to toe. Mindfulness is being present in the moment without judgment and with curiosity and compassion. And notice if there's any new awarenesses in your mind, your body, your spirit. And if there's anything that came up, is another reason why I really promote seeking out counseling at some point in your life, as often we just go, go, go. Our society is just go, 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 go. It's really the way our society is running is not good for our mental health. There's not enough. It's more of a business model. There's not enough time to have this respite, these breaks for our nervous system to recalibrate and actually rest and digest. You can't even properly digest your food. That's why there's so many issues with immune systems and digestive issues from chronic stress. It all relates. So it's so important to me. And that's why I did pause and process. It's so important to find places to pause and process. But again, as I was saying, we don't do it enough. So then when we do pause, our nervous system and our minds might bring up too much. And then we go to dorsal and we're overwhelmed. And so people will avoid deep breathing and relaxing things, because then all the stuff gets stirred up and then they got to deal with that stuff. And so that's your nervous system working. That's your nervous system and your mind and your body saying, hey, signals, there's some stuff you need to process. So please seek out support. Go to a trusted friend or family. And I encourage people, if they are in there, a lot of times we keep it. There's unfortunately still a lot of stigma. I've done a talk on stigmas as well. And I encourage anyone who has been in therapy or is in therapy, if you're worried about someone, I talk a lot about taking responsibility for your own, and sharing your own vulnerability is kind of great it's scary, but sharing, hey, I've noticed you've been going through a lot. I've gotten value from talking to someone, and I want to encourage you to do that because you need safety, and to own that you might not be that best person. I think way too many people get overwhelmed in wanting to tackle other people's. They want to be a good friend, but it's fair to say, hey, wow, that's heavy. I'm not even sure how to own your own vulnerability, and I really encourage you to seek help. So thank you for listening. And on that note, I'm actually going to be taking a pause from Pause and Process as I'm flying to New Zealand, and the time zone, this right now is, I think it's like 4 a.m. in New Zealand right now. I am not going to wake up to do it at this time. And I don't quite know how it's going to work out on my schedule. So right now I'm going to take a pause on my Pause and Process. And I would love any feedback. If you've watched these, what has been helpful, what's not helpful. I know one thing, I can talk a lot slower. I have so much information I want to share. I want to create more of a membership site so that I can give more tailored and people ask more questions live, because I would love to do that. I was just on a radio show. I enjoyed that experience, and I'd love to do more of that. So please give me feedback if you have any questions, or what's helpful, not helpful, what you want more of. As I take a step back and reflect, give myself a break. I'm going to give myself permission to have a good cry. It's been full on these past for a while, but definitely the last couple of weeks. And so I'm looking forward to giving myself. I practice what I preach. It absolutely does help. It does work. So thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe, share, and make time to pause and process and take wonderful care, because the world needs you whole and connected and alive so that you may be your best self. Take wonderful care.